is able to generate items. So starting with generating text for AP reading assessments, we will look into generating text at various CFR proficiency levels in various English varieties, in various genres, and then we will see whether we can further improve the text by editing them using progressive hint prompting technique. ChatGPT knows the CFR. It knows about the CFR and it is able to adjust the text proficiency level to desired CFR level. This is the prompt that I used when I was researching this capability, preparing for this webinar, and here are the results. You can see that I've got a column with ChatGPT 3.5. I'm sure a lot of you already know that it has been decommissioned. I think it happened about 2 weeks ago, so they change things all the time. But if you go to your ChatGPT screen, you will see that in the drop-down, you don't have the GPT 3.5 version. What we've got now is GPT 4.0. It's the best and most up-to-date version. And then they have GPT 4.0 mini. If you have a free account, you might also know this, that you are now able to use their best version, ChatGPT 4.0 for free, but only up to a number of queries. When you've reached that limit, and they don't tell us what is the limit because it depends on the everyday use and so on, then you will be moved on to GPT-4 mini. And the main difference between them, I think GPT, from my experience, it's less powerful. But another important thing is that if you look at the prompt box here, you see that there is no paperclip. While if I move on to GPT-4.0, there is a paperclip here, which means that you can attach documents to your queries, which is a good thing. It's very, very helpful. Anyway, so coming back to what I was saying, I did a little experiment trying to produce a text about holidays around the world at 3 CFR levels with using 2 models, GPT 3.5, which is decommissioned now, and GPT 4.0, the latest model. And you can see that GPT 4.0 performed slightly better because it was right on the target for A2 and B2 level, and it was a little bit below for C1 level, but very, very slightly, while GPT 3.5 performed a bit less. But still, it wasn't a huge difference. It wasn't like I asked it to produce text at B2 level and it produced text at A1 level. Yeah, talking about defining the CFR level of the text. What I was using is called
Olena, you're on mute.
Someone must have muted me, it wasn't me. So what I was saying was that to check the CFR proficiency level of the text, I use EDIA Papyrus, which gives you definitive level of the text. So if I want to analyze the text, it will tell me what level it is. But it requires a paid subscription. If you don't have it, I can recommend a couple of free text profilers. For example, you can use this one from the University of Louvain. And I'll put I'll put the link in the chat now, which won't tell you the definitive CFR level, but if you click on analyze and input your text, then it will profile every word in the text. So you will be able to see more or less whether the text is at your desired level. Another one which I can recommend is called Text Checker from Oxford. So again, you can input your text there, and they will give you, they will profile every word. If you compare the two, you might see that it's not exactly the same profiling because it all depends on the corpus. I won't go deeper into it because a separate webinar will be required to explain this, but just to make you aware of this. So we can see that GPT-4o performed better at producing text at desired CFR proficiency level. So their newest model is actually better. Another thing that you can do with ChatGPT, you can ask it to produce a text in various English varieties. Just for you to be aware that American English is the default English variety for ChatGPT. So if you don't ask it specifically, please produce a text at a particular variety, it will produce a text in American English. But you can ask it, and here is, you can see the prompt that I was using. The text should be written in, and in square brackets I input the variety. And again, I did a little experiment and I produced text, the same text, but I asked it to change it into different varieties. From American English, changed it into British English, Australian, Indian, and Singaporean English. And you can see that it can do it for British English really well. It changed dates, it changed spelling, it changed some vocabulary, for example, from candy to sweets. For Australian English, apart from these things, it also knows the realia. So the text mentions spring, and it changed spring into autumn. So it knows about that too. I wasn't that impressed with converting it into Indian English because I have a little bit of knowledge of Indian English. I think it is a bit more different than from American English than ChatGPT knows. So this is something to be careful about. Interesting thing about Singaporean English was that it changed quite a lot of vocabulary. For example, apparently I don't have knowledge of Singaporean English, but if anyone here is from Singapore, please confirm. Is it true that instead of envelopes, you use the word packets? And instead of Diwali, you use Deepavali? So if anyone knows, please let us know. So anyway, what we'll learn from here is that it is possible to ask ChatGPT to produce a text in a desired English variety, and it will do it to greater or lesser extent. So I promise that this workshop is going to be very practical, so I'll stop talking a lot now and we'll move on to our first hands-on activity, generating reading text. If you can find your worksheet, please, and look at the hands-on activity, you see there are 3 prompts. I'll explain in a minute what we're going to do with them, but just as an introduction to this activity, ChatGPT really shines for generating ideas. It can generate long lists of genres you asked it for, of topics. If you want a text in a particular topic, you can ask it for content points. It will generate a lot of those, which saves item writers a lot of time in researching ideas and researching the topic before writing the text. And I know that professional item writers use ChatGPT mostly for this, for generating topics, for generating content points for a particular topic. So what we're going to do, we're first going to generate a list of genres for academic written text, because we're talking about EAP here. Then we'll generate a list of EAP topics, and then using those genres and topics, we will generate a text in a specific genre on a specific topic, and we'll also ask ChatGPT to generate it at a specific proficiency level. I'm also aware if you are a practicing EAP teacher at the moment, you might have your own syllabus and you have your own list of genres and your own list of topics that you want that you have to teach your students. So then you can use those genres and those topics. It's fine. Anyway, so let's start with prompt number 1. In your worksheet, you have this prompt, generate a list of genres for academic reading texts. I will do it now with you. So I'll input this prompt into ChatGPT, and we'll see what it is doing. So while it is ready to do it, and you can see it started generating a list, and the list is long. So please, can you do the same and generate your own list? Well, and please be aware that every time ChatGPT is asked to do something, it will do it a bit slightly differently. Each list or each text will be original. So my list might be slightly different from the list that you are getting. Well, so we've got a list of genres, and from what I can see, they are all valid genres for for AP texts. Now let's generate a list of topics. So please, can you copy over prompt 2 into the chat box and ask ChatGPT to generate a list of topics? Well, so I can see it's academic writing skills, reading strategies, listening and note-taking, speaking and presentation skills, also with some explanations. So all of them are useful topics for an EAP course. Now, please, can you have a look at your prompt number 3? In this prompt, you ask ChatGPT to generate, and this is a generic prompt, to generate a text in genre topic at a particular CFR level. Please, can you input your whatever you want? For example, I experimented with generating a 500-word text in the essay genre on the topic of avoiding plagiarism. And I took the genre and the topic from the list that ChatGPT gave me. And the text is for AP students at B2 CFR proficiency level, but you can use the topic, the genre, and the level that is suitable for the students you are teaching. And I'll give you a minute to generate your own text and have a look at this text, whether you find the text acceptable, what you think of the quality of the text. And if you have any comments, please, you can use the chat box to write there and share your impressions of the text that you've generated.
Olena, just if everyone is okay with using the handout, if you've got the handouts, that's fine. If you would like me to put the prompt in the chat, I can do it. Just copy the prompt for everyone. So how would you like me to proceed?
I think it would be fine if you also inputted the prompt here in the chat box.
In the chat, okay.
Yeah, well.
I'll do it then. Oh, and there are a couple of questions in the chat. Well, just one question really. It is about the other Englishes. So Shah, if I'm saying that correctly, asks whether so it seems like when you ask ChatGPT to produce something in another English, then it will do it once after the prompt, but then after that may forget the requirement and need to go back to the default setting. And then someone else has put that perhaps if you use the paid version, then it remembers that it needs to switch to a different English. Is that the experience that you've had?
Well, I think I know which Shalio it is, and I know that she uses paid version. So I think it might remember, but then it might forget. I also use paid version. So you can never be 100% secure that when you told ChatGPT something, it will remember and it will follow it, and it will speak about it later. So it won't hurt including this requirement every time you are using ChatGPT. The more times you reinforce your requirement with ChatGPT, the better.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, right. So while you are reading the text you've generated, I'll give you some comments on my experiment, which I've done before this session. So I actually generated 3 texts using the same prompt. The only thing I changed was the genre. So I asked ChatGPT to generate text at B2 level on the topic of avoiding plagiarism in the genre of an essay, literature review, and academic article. When I looked at those texts, they did have the features of the required genres. For example, for the literature review, you would expect that to have references to the in-text references to different publications, and there were, and then there was a references list at the end. Talking about the references, please be aware that ChatGPT might just falsify them. It might refer to something that doesn't exist. So please, every time you see something like that, a reference, always check whether it exists, because it might not. And when I checked those texts for the word count and for the proficiency level, you can see that it kind of adhered to the word count, but not exactly. I think the prompt B generated 513 words, which was the closest here, but then it was 580, it was even 610. So again, it didn't stick exactly to what I asked. In terms of the proficiency level, it was B2 plus C1, then was C1 and C1. So generally it was higher than I asked. Well, I can see someone's writing, so I think it's Chances wrote, as for literature review genre, but didn't get anything at all appropriate. Well, happens. What you can do, you can try to regenerate the text. It might help if you start a new chat. So if you go here and instead of continuing with the same chat, please click a ChatGPT new chat and input the prompt again. It might refresh ChatGPT and it might perform a little bit better. But as we've seen, the texts weren't 100% on the spot, and what people are writing, again, there were some problems. So what we might try to do is to further edit those texts, again, not manually, but using ChatGPT. There is one technique which is called progressive hint prompting. It was used by, it was published about by Aridus and colleagues just recently. They used it to generate scripts for listening assessment. So what it means that you keep interacting with ChatGPT to adjust the prompt and gradually achieve the desired outputs. And I would say start a new chat for better results, as I've just said. And here is our hands-on activity 2. I've prepared 2 prompts in the worksheet. The first prompt is for varying, for adjusting the word count of the text. In my case, they were too long, so I asked ChatGPT to shorten the text. Please pay attention that I asked it also to keep the essential meaning, because it's important to make this explicit, because it might change the meaning as well otherwise. And my second problem was that the texts were a bit higher proficiency level than required. So the second prompt is asking ChatGPT to simplify the text to B2 proficiency level. But again, keeping the original meaning and word count, which might be another problem. You try to deal with one problem, you try to deal with the proficiency level, but word count is fine. The next text, it gives you the proficiency level will be fine, but the word count will be off. You see, so you need to, again, to explain to ChatGPT as much as possible what you want. So please, can you try to deal with the problem that you might have had and regenerate your text and see whether it is better than the original one? And while you are doing this, I can tell you about my experiments. So my first experiment was about shortening the text to 500 words. It was 610 words, and while I used this technique, the resultant text was 503 words, which is very good. It's almost on this spot. While for the second prompt, when I asked it to simplify the text to B2 level, it didn't result in anything better than the original text. You see that I did it twice. The first text was C1, the second was B2 C1, but the word count changed. And then the third text was again back to C1, and the word count was still smaller, so it was a shorter text. So, well, what we can conclude from here is not always that you get exactly the desired result from ChatGPT. You might have to tweak the text a little bit by yourself manually. So you have something to work with. and then you can make the adjustments, further adjustments by yourself. Are there any comments at this point?
Someone is saying good in the chat.
Well, this probably means that I can move on, yeah? So, well, I'll move on. If you have any comments, please post them and I'll answer them at a later time. So that was about generating text for reading assessments. So now let's look at listening assessments. So we don't need written style text for listening assessments, we need scripts. So we will look at generating scripts in various spoken genres, and then we'll see whether these scripts have spoken language features, and if they don't, how we can tweak the text to introduce spoken language features, and then we will generate an audio from the scripts that you've generated. So let's start with hands-on activities 3, generating scripts. And the first thing that we'll do again is generating the list of genres for academic spoken discourse, because first we want to know what are the genres that we can use for our scripts. So again, we have a long list here. That's lectures, seminars, presentations, discussions, debates, workshops, tutorials, and so on. 21 genres altogether. All of them seem to be reasonable. So what we'll do now, please use this generic prompt, generate text at particular length or script in particular genre on a particular topic. You can use the list of topics that we've already generated for the reading text. I don't think they need to change. And again, please use the CFR proficiency level that you would like. This was my prompt, just as an example. I kept the same topic of avoiding plagiarism, and I asked ChatGPT to generate a 300-word script in the genre of a lecture, also at B2 proficiency level. I'll give you a couple of moments to do the same. And please have a look what you think of the text that's been generated. Does it look like a script? And not a written text? Does it have any features of, does it look like a spoken, like something that was spoken and then transcribed rather than something that was written to be published? Well, while you're doing it, I can see a couple of comments in the chat. Neil Buchanan is writing that in his experience, he needs to tweak results, absolutely. I would say that ChatGPT never produces anything that is 100% usable as is, and we will see even more how much it needs editing when we come to generating items. And check sources, yes, absolutely. It might confuse the publications, but it might also fake publications. It'll just make up a publication that never existed. So, and it's not a good idea to give fake information to your students. So please be very careful about that. And John Sebastian wrote that he asked ChatGPT to shorten the text to 500 words, but as a result, he got the text in 718 words. I can't say I'm surprised. So just keep going. You can use a new chat, probably try a couple of times. If everything, try next day. If everything fails, just shorten it yourself. Yeah, the result is not guaranteed with ChatGPT. Well, please post your comments on how spoken the generated script sounds. And this is what of the text that I've generated, the script that I've generated. I asked for 300 words, it was 354, but it's okay. And the text, I asked for B2 level, and it was B2, B2 plus, which is okay-ish as well. It's not that bad, I would say. But let's look at more important things, whether the script has spoken language features. And when I looked at my text, I found that it didn't have sufficient spoken language features. So what we can do is we can edit the text. We can ask ChatGPT to insert or to change the text to insert those spoken language features. And here is a list of features. I took it from publication by Carter and McCarthy, and you can also find discussion about spoken language features and scripts in my course at publication, which was about authenticity of listening texts, listening scripts. But basically, the features that should be fewer in spoken discourse are passive forms, subordinate clauses, embedded clauses. So the texts are less complex when they are spoken in spoken language. And the features that are expected to be more of are linking words, spoken discourse markers, interjections, incomplete or abandoned structures, ellipses, various pauses, filled and unfilled, repetitions, reformulations, so everything that a person would say when they are not reading a text, but when they're just generating a live text. You have this list in your worksheet, and what we'll do now, we'll feed this text to ChatGPT. You can either include this list in the prompt, so you ask ChatGPT, edit the above text to include spoken language features, but it needs to know which spoken language features you want. You can attach it as a document, or you can just include it in the prompt. So please do this. Again, take a minute and have a look whether the text, the resultant text, is actually amended, whether it has more spoken language features than the original one.
We are getting comments. It is much better, but still needs more human intervention.
Yeah.
Yes, I get more ellipses and interjections in my scripts. Oh, Olena, could you let us know the paper from which the set of spoken language features was extracted from?
Yes, absolutely. It will be in the references list. And I understand that this presentation will be recorded, so you will be able to see it. Yeah. Or I will pause for a couple of seconds and you'll be able to take a screenshot. So I can see that the texts are improved. John Sebastian wrote he got more ellipses and interjections. And the second edition is better, Anthea wrote, but some words are a bit forced, but easy to edit. Exactly, it still needs human intervention. Okay, Carrie wrote that better, but still no human errors on finished sentences, no ams, so on. Yeah, absolutely. You're finding what I found. I've compared the two texts using the compare feature in Word, and you can see here the difference between the original text and the edited text. So, for example, it used contractions, and we are instead of today. So today, so there is an interjection. Yeah, instead of a very important topic, it used something really important. So it sounds a bit a bit more spoken, and so on. So the text does sound much more spoken, but I noticed that one thing that was missing, it was pauses. There were no filled or unfilled pauses there. So using the progressive hint prompting technique, I asked ChatGPT to work on it well. And you can see that I used well done. Some research shows that ChatGPT understands praise, and so if we reinforce that it's doing well, then it might do a bit better. So kind of giving it brown points, right? So I asked it to work on the text again, to include filled and unfilled pauses. And I also instructed it how to indicate unfilled and filled pauses in the script. Interestingly, what I received was not many pauses. There were no unfilled pauses at all, and it included only 3 changes, 3 filled pauses only in the last 2 paragraphs. So it resists to this change for some unknown reason. But you will also see that it's using pauses when generating, again, when producing audios that are AI voiced might not be a good idea. And we will see to it in a moment. So I hope that by now, all of you have generated your texts. You've got something to generate an audio from. So we are moving on to generating audio from scripts using AI voices. So you've got your script. Now you don't want to read it out by yourself. You want to you don't want to ask your colleagues because everyone's busy. So you want to have an audio to play to your students. So you can use AI voices. I asked Bing Copilot for a list of best AI-powered voice generation tools this year, and it gave me 5, and 11 Labs seems to be the best. And I actually took the lead from the previous workshop where Basim introduced us to 11 Labs, if you watched it. And I asked you to create a free account on 11 Labs. I hope everyone have done it because now we're going to use it. Please, can you go to 11 Labs? At the moment, I'm opening it as well. So here is the interface. I've also got free accounts because I don't really have the need outside of this workshop to generate text, to generate audios. So if you click on speech, you can see that it's called you need text to speech. You can see that you can input your text here, and then you can choose a voice here. Let's look a little bit at the voices. You have some default voices. No, not that many. There are many more in the library, and you might want to explore the library. So if you click on Find More Voices, you can see a huge library here. And again, you can find here voices in different Englishes, including Australian English, Indian English, African English, which is very nice to include this variety. For your students, you can see male voices, female voices, different ages, and also the voice, the speciality of the voice. It can be professional, it can be narrative, or some other voice. What I used was, I'll go back and I'll show you. I looked through the library, and I used 2 voices. One is Delilah, British English. I used her because it's informative and educational. So I thought BALEAP, so educational voice will be good and also wise. And Richard Yu is American English. It says English, but it's actually American English. Also informative and educational, but excited, a bit more emotional. So I've generated the text using these 2 voices. So please, can you choose any voice you like and start generating your text? It'll take you a bit of time. So while you are doing it, I'll keep talking. As I've said, I voiced this script using 2 voices, one British English Delilah and another Richard Yu American English. So I will let you listen a little bit and see whether you think it's it's a suitable voice. So first, Delilah.
Good afternoon, everyone. So today we're going to talk about something really important, avoiding plagiarism. Now, plagiarism is a big deal in academics, and it can have some serious consequences for your studies and future career. Basically, it happens when you use someone else's work or ideas without giving them proper credit.
Well, so what do you think? Doesn't sound like a real live lecture? I wasn't very happy with that. I thought that this voice sounds too flat. I mean, too unemotional, probably more like a voice over in a documentary, but not really a live lecture. So I tried Richard, who is supposed to be more emotional.
Good afternoon, everyone. So today we're going to talk about something really important, avoiding plagiarism. Now, plagiarism is a big deal in academics, and it can have some serious consequences for your studies and future career.
What do you think about this one? I thought it was better. I thought it sounded more like a real life lecture in an auditorium. And also you can hear that you can't really tell that this is a robotic voice. If you heard it, I don't think it would be very easy for you. If you listened a bit longer, maybe a little bit flat here and there, but the AI voices have improved considerably over the last couple of years, so they sound very, very natural now. But one thing that I noticed also, that it did not voice pauses really well. So I will let you hear the pauses. So if you remember at the end of the text, there were 3 filled pauses. So let's listen how it pronounces those pauses. And I wasn't very happy with that.
Ideas completely in your own words and still give a citation. Also include a bibliography or reference list at the end of your work, listing all the sources you used. Another tip is to use plagiarism detection tools. These tools can help you spot parts of your text that might be too similar to your sources. This way you can make the necessary changes before submitting.
Well, so what's your impression? Sounds like Tom Cruise. Well, possibly, yeah. So I felt that I wasn't 100% satisfied with how it voiced the pauses. So might be a better idea not to include them then. But again, if you have a free account, you can have up to 10 minutes a month. This text was about 2 minutes, so you have 5 attempts, or you can create a couple of accounts, probably, I don't know or you can get a paid subscription if you need to generate a lot at institutional level and experiment with it. I can see a couple of questions, and I'm going to comment more, and I think I'll answer most of these questions in my comments. So the tips. First, please explore the voice library and use the voices that are suitable for the particular genre and the purpose. So we saw that Delilah might be good as a voiceover in a commentary, but is not good as a live lecturer. Well, Richard Yu is probably better. I would say that it might be a good idea to select a variety of voices and present to your students. You can vary the genre, the gender, you can vary the age, you can vary the accent and introduce your students to American, Australian, Indian, African accents. You might find, although the voices sound very natural, you might find that the intonation might not sound completely natural in places. And some features of spoken language might not sound 100% natural as well. We'll just discuss pauses, hesitations might not sound 100% natural. And I saw a couple of questions about this. Yes, it's true. It can only be used for monologues. Obviously, you cannot use it for a dialogue. So again, it's not a solution for all your needs. If dialogues, you still need to get them from elsewhere. The text might not sound 100% on the dot as a live person, but if you need a lot of them, why not? It might be a good solution. Anna, I think we have a little bit of time for questions before the break. So Okay, and I've got one question from you. Is it possible to regulate the speed of delivery? I think it is if you use the advanced feature stability, similarity, or maybe no, or maybe not more stable height. No, I don't think. Sorry, I'm not incredibly familiar with this because my work I normally don't have to do it, but I would say that probably choose the speaker that is either faster or slower. Also, if you go into the library, you are able to listen to a sample.
I am Leonie Vergara. I speak English, Spanish, and you can try me in other languages. I am Leonie Vergara. I speak English, Spanish, and
so you can hear that it's a nice Spanish accent. Again, English is a lingua franca, very nice to introduce your students to. Well, any other questions? What format is the audio file in when you download it? Could change the speed with free software. Well, the format, let me see. I'm actually not sure what the format is. It's MP3 file, yeah. It is MP3 file, so if you know how to change the speed with an MP3 file, then it should be fine. But again, think about this thing. Each voice is meant to be natural in its own way. So if you make it much faster or much slower, then it won't sound that natural. So maybe it's better to browse through the library and find a voice that is naturally slower or naturally faster. Okay, Shah, some of us here today might want to compile a wish list of features for existing text-to-speech tools. Yes, why not? And then send it to OpenAI, to 11 Labs people. Please, can you share if there is a reference study that supports ChatGPT understand phrases? Well, okay. Sorry, I didn't, I can't share it right now, but I will pass it on to Anna and she will be able to send it to you later. I wasn't expecting to cite this reference. Apologies for this. I answered Anthea's question. Maybe they'll appear. Seamus only monologues. They're paid. AI tool that can do dialogues. Maybe they'll appear in a month or two. Maybe we don't know. Everything's changing all the time. It's possible to regulate. We talked about speed.
I think you've covered everything now.
I've covered everything. Okay. Okay, right. So let's have a break then. Let's have a break until 1 o'clock UK time, or 10. It's written 10 minutes, so but maybe we can make it here on sharp on the hour. Anna, what do you think?
Yeah, we can do that. So did you say 1 o'clock?
Yeah, 1 o'clock UK time, or 2
Yeah.
o'clock, 3 o'clock, 10 o'clock, whatever it is in your time zone.
Yeah, so 1 o'clock UK time we will resume. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you very much.